Necrons. Hello there guys, it is Torpid here bringing you a guide on how to do Demonic Incursion with the Necrons in Warhammer 40,000 Battlesector. Now, I've got to be honest with you, if you guys have seen my Sisters of Battle guide, let me tell you straight away, Necrons are trivial in comparison to the Sisters in this game mode. I mean, to be honest with you, everything is, apart from the Sisters, but Necrons are very, very easy. The fact that their units can self-heal at the end of every turn, based on your momentum, it's extremely powerful. So, general tips and tricks. If you haven't seen my last video, don't worry about it too much. You can look in the description here and it will give you a rundown of a lot of the general tips that you want to be aware of with the Demonic Incursion. But the first thing you want to consider when you're building an army with any faction is, how do I tank range damage for this game mode? Because I don't want to be losing models on my infantry squads and get slowly chipped away over time by the enemies. Now obviously the fact that you heal automatically as the Necrons gives you a gigantic advantage in regards to this, but you still want high armor tanky vehicles on the front lines in order to tank those shots from skull cannons and sword grinders. So you have Annihilation Barges with the Necrons. Amazing units. Massive HP pool, very good armor, not brilliant, you know. Immolators and Rhinos for the Sisters of Battle have 9 armor, so only 7, but still, you've got quantum shielding to reduce your damage taken, and then you heal at the end of the turn. So you obviously want 3 of these. Now we're keeping full cohesion. If you don't want full cohesion, if you don't care about cohesion, then just get more of these instead of destroyers, to be honest. Or instead of Skorpekh Destroyers. But we've got cohesion, so we're capped at a maximum of 3 of these. Now, I'll be honest with you, I actually don't know whether the Gauss Cannon or Tesla Cannon is better. I think both of them are very good. The Gauss Cannon obviously makes you stronger against Skull Cannons and Soul Grinders. The Tesla Cannon, better against everything else. So the Tesla Cannon is a nicer generalist tool. And I think honestly as the Necrons you have so much powerful long-ranged armor piercing that you probably can get away with the Tesla Cannon here on the Annihilation Barge. But try them out, both works. So, they're tanky, but they're only 3 units, so it's not enough. So then you get Skorpekh Destroyers. Yes, they're infantry, but they heal at the end of every turn. They're 6 armor, with 150 HP per model, 3 models. They're super tanky for 125 points. Now the main disadvantage in multiplayer is they only have movement speed 3. But it doesn't matter because you're fighting khorne, so you wait for them to come to you anyway. That's just how this game mode works. So you just use these guys to tank damage from skull cannons standing out at the front, and then I just use them mostly to chop up enemy chaff, because again, skull cannons and soul grinders don't really get that close to you, and blood crushers, oh my god, when you're playing the Necrons, blood crushers, you can melt them with ghost weaponry so easily. So I find that these guys actually, you're best off just using them to chop up bloodletters and fleshhounds, and so you just want the hyperphase freshers, because they attack 3 times and they have a little bit of splash, versus the Reap Blade, which has higher AP and higher single target damage. But yeah, I think using them for chaff is generally more useful, so just keep the freshers. So there you go, you've got a tanky front line now. How do you actually kill the enemy units that are hiding in the backlines, the Soul Grinders, the Skull Cannons? Well, you have Deathmarks and Immortals. So Deathmarks are the better thing here, so you might be wondering why I only have 4 of them and I've got 5 Immortals, even though they're the same cost. I just find that you're going to be bringing in more of these with reinforcements anyway. If you are going for a no reinforcements playthrough for the highest score, then lose this Immortal and bring in another Deathmark. I just find because the Deathmarks have the teleport ability, it does spawn on cooldown, but having the teleport ability, if you bring in an extra 2 Deathmark as reinforcements, you can use the teleport to get them out of bad situations and get them into your main army a bit easier. They both only have movement of 3, which is problematic for reinforcements. I find when you bring Immortals in on reinforcements, they often get chopped up in melee. So, because I'm doing this build to show you just a build to win, not to maximize score, if you just want to win, take 4 Deathmarks, and these the extra 2 that you can't get for your limit, you want those extra 2 very early, so some of your earliest reinforcements should be an additional 2 Deathmarks. Teleport them to the middle of the map and get them into safety. Now Immortals, you can get a maximum of 8 of these guys. Immortals are just superior warriors, basically. I mean, let's have a comparison. So Immortals have marginally more HP. They actually do cost a lot more, but their gun is so much better. So, and they have a little bit, well, actually a reasonable bit higher armor. But if we look at the gun, 3 attacks with an optimal range of 4, a max range of 8, 10 to 14. 4 attacks with an optimal range of 3 and a max range of 6, 7 to 10 damage. AP 4 on the Immortals, AP 3 on the Warriors. You can give Warriors an even stronger weapon for close range. Pointless. You don't need to worry about close range as the Necrons, I'm telling you. You have so much firepower, you just rip everything to pieces with your Gauss weaponry. And if anything does get close, you have a couple of units that can deal with it. You've got your Lich Guard, which can chop them up in melee, you've got your Necron Overlord, and then you've got the Hexmark Destroyers. So one last thing before we move on to the Hexmark Destroyers then. You can get Tesla weaponry on the Immortals. I think it's pointless. The Immortals and the Deathmark should mostly be used to kill the big enemy targets because they've got really high max range. And actually, they're not that inaccurate at super long range because things like Soul Grinders, they're such big targets, they have evasion debuffs. So even at range 6 or 7 with Immortals, you can hit them pretty accurately. So just keep the Ghost Blasters, I think. Chaff is not a big problem for the Necrons. Part of the reason why the chaff is not a big problem for the Necrons is the Hexmark Destroyers. You definitely want 2 of these guys. They are so useful. They're HQ units, so they attack twice per turn. You can remove your movement speed in order to get extra bullets and more accuracy. Actually, no, I've said that the wrong way. You remove your movement points to boost your crit chance and to get extra accuracy, to get actually more than extra accuracy, guaranteed hits, and then you can combine it with this ability to shoot 3 targets at once. I mean, it's just crazy. Combine these 2 abilities with the fact they have 2 AP, you absolutely melt enemy chaff. Bloodletters and Flesh Hounds have no chance. The downside of this guy is that he's only optimal range 2, max range 4. So basically you use them defensively. You don't really want to tank with them because they're not actually that tanky if you look. 240 HP, 6 armor, it's okay, but it's not amazing. Ideally you want to be tanking with these guys because they're free models with 150 HP, or this with a 360 HP, higher armor and the quantum shielding. But they can tank too. You know, they're not going to die instantly if they get shot by a Soul Grinder, so that's nice. So you use these guys to just melt chaff, basically. You've got your Overlord. I mean, obviously you want an Overlord. In fact, the main reason why you want the Overlord, well, there's 2 things really. The main thing is actually command protocol. So all nearby Necrons get 100% momentum gains. That is actually the best thing. You don't really need the movement because you're not moving that much. This isn't multiplayer. We need to get up close to the enemy and hunt them down and make use of line of sight blockers. No, it doesn't matter. You're just camping in the middle mostly. So you don't need the movement. The ranged armor is nice against skull cannons and soul grinders, but 1 at ranged armor is not that big of a deal. You basically want 100% momentum gains on permanently. The melee armor doesn't really matter either. The momentum gains are very useful in this game mode because it means that you get more healing. So it's so easy with the Necrons to be in a situation where you are healing more than you're actually losing models. And then when you factor in the reinforcements, your army actually grows in size with wave to wave. As of the release, it is trivial, trust me. And then the other great advantage of the Necron Overlord is you get 4 uses of the Orb of Resurrection, which just gives you 3 Necron Warriors. So you pay $275 for this guy, and you get 4 summons of Necron Warriors, which themselves normally cost $65. So that's $260 right there. And this guy only costs $275. He is also a decent melee combatant. Pretty good HP, decent armor, 2 attacks on the War Scythe with really high splash damage. I mean, basically he can kill anything that comes close. His base damage isn't crazy good with a War Scythe, or really any of his weapons, so he's not amazing against Bloodthirsters or Soul Grinders. He is actually best against infantry. And that's actually fine, because like I said, Soul Grinders and Bloodthirsters, they shouldn't get anywhere near you as the Necrons. Your Gauss weaponry from Deathmarks and Immortals, heavy destroyers, you should melt them from afar. So, yeah, chop up bloodletters with him. It's really effective. So then that leaves one more unit, the Heavy Destroyers. They're okay. They're another one of the units that's tanky, right? So I think it's nice to not just be spamming 8 Immortals. I feel like you might as well get a couple of Heavy Destroyers. You use them because they've got super long range with their upgraded weapon. So, you know, you can choose this one here, which shoots multiple times. Basically, this is better against chaff, and this is dedicated Soul Grinder and Skull Cannon killing technology. Optimal range of 6, max range of 7. Very good for hunting those artillery units, and that should be the main purpose of your Heavy Destroyers. The beautiful thing here is they're really hard to kill the models because they're 180 HP each with armor 6. So, nice backline units to help you deal with the big enemies. So what does that leave you with? Well, you don't really want flayed ones because you don't need melee in this game mode. You definitely don't want scarabs in the starting army because they're taking up your 20 pop. You're probably never going to get scarabs because even with reinforcements you have a limit of bringing in 4 units at once. They're only 30 power, 30 points, so they're just too cheap. I think when you're calling in reinforcements, you may want to consider calling in some flayed ones or some Triac Praetorians. Melee units are generally better in reinforcements, and these guys can teleport, these guys can jump, so they both find it quite easy to actually get to the main army and not get wrecked before they actually can reach them. Lichguard, pointless. You will never lose your Necron Lord. The thing, Lichguard, you know, maybe if you're playing multiplayer against Space Marines and they're bringing lots of plasma weaponry, yeah, you want a Lichguard because they could shoot your Necron Overlord to shit from afar. Khorne can't do that, so it's perfectly fine. You don't need the Lichguard. They're too slow, they don't do very good damage. Flayed ones and Praetorians, well, definitely flayed ones, for the cost will do way more damage than Lichguard. And if you really want melee, Skorpekh Destroyers, same cost as Lichguard, they're much tankier, nearly double the HP, and they do just as much damage. In fact, they do way more damage, to be honest, because these don't even have splash. So the only other unit is the Plasmancer. I think the Plasmancer's pretty bad. He's not that tanky, for his cost in particular, and a lot of his abilities, they're mostly for, like, killing chaff, and I just don't think you need it as the Necrons. You have such firepower. It's really fine. Then Warriors, they're just worse than Immortals. You can start spamming Warriors once you've maxed out 8 Immortals, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with Warriors. But there you go, that is the build. It is going to be detailed in the description, and I'm not going to actually play a run through with this build right now because I did a full run through of all 8 waves in the beta. So there is a link going to be in a pinned comment and the description to that video. It's going to be no commentary, so just, you know, if you want a guide that shows you exactly how to play it, then I've got it there. I did all 8 waves, and I'll be honest with you, it gets boring after a while because you've got to keep moving your units to make sure you don't go into Overwatch to maintain momentum and heal. It's a bit of a chore, but the reason why it's a chore is because it's so easy. You get to a point where you're calling in more troops than the Khorne demons can even kill, and they then can't get near you because you've just got friggin' thousands of Gauss lasers. So there you go, Necron guide complete. Necrons, great at killing Khorne, it turns out. That's going to be all from your boy Torpid here. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Torpid out.